Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine
Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashchate Deshkarine
Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada.
Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada.
Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.
जो गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Hare Krishna, and pranams dear devotees. So we begin our evening session today, and so हम पढ़ रहे हैं from what's so special about Srila Prabhupada, and so we will begin our today's session. Very few devotees today. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So, तो अभी हम पढ़ रहे हैं प्रभुपाद की एक व्यास पूजा ऑफरिंग से, जो कि इट्स कॉल्ड विशिष्ट, एंड उसमें से हमने जो 4 हैं पैरास वो हमने पढ़ लिए हैं, एंड वी विल कंटिन्यू फ्रॉम 5th विशिष्ट. सो आई विल शेयर द स्क्रीन, एंड आप हैंड रेज कर दीजिए सो दैट दोज हु वांट्स टू रीड they can raise their hands. So it was called I Made a Cry of Grief, and this Srila Prabhupada actually offered on the Vyas Puja of his spiritual master Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj, and on in February 1961. And Prabhupada was in Vrindavan at that time. So in 1959 he took sannyas, and then he went to Vrindavan, and then he stayed at Radha Damodar temple for many years, where he compiled the first 3 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, and on this Vyas Puja of 1961 of his spiritual master, Prabhupada wrote this wonderful a piece of writing, and और हमने जैसे अभी तक पढ़ा that all these the first 4 Vishisht, and Prabhupada it was so clear for us ki how near or how strong his connection was with his spiritual master, and how clear he was on his mood and mission to preach, and the mood of his spiritual master we could see from these Vyas Puja, this Vyas Puja offering of Srila Prabhupada to his spiritual master. And so now we continue from our 5th Vishisht. So I will share the screen. The first one I will try to read, and then others can also read. So is my screen visible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So सबसे पहले कौन है? गौरव प्रभु जी. Okay. So सबसे पहले मैं ही पढ़ता हूँ, और उसके बाद गौरव प्रभु जी will read. So 5th विशिष्ट. तो अभी तक हमने 4 विशिष्ट पढ़ लिए हैं, और लास्ट में it was that where Prabhupada tells about Guru Tyagi, Guru Bhogi, and Guru Sevi, that we have to become Guru Sevi, that we have to become the servant of our spiritual master, and not a Guru Tyagi, or who renounces the Guru's order, जो कि जिसके जो spiritual master के जो orders हैं वो उनको नहीं मानते और उनको त्याग देते हैं, वो गुरु त्यागी कहलाते हैं. और गुरु भोगी जो अपने स्पिरिचुअल मास्टर के दिए हुए एसेट्स के लाइक जो उनको भोगते हैं, they don't do much, or they don't give anything back, but they are just we can say them as bhogi, so they are called guru bhogi. So Prabhupada condemns both, and he recommends us to become guru sevi, that we become servant of our spiritual master, and so like that. So now we come to our 5th prayer, 5th Vishishta. So I will read. If there is only one Supreme Lord, then a true sadhu. If his faith increases, he gives up the desire for profit, distinction, and adoration in the material world. Your gold, brother, is the father of sense gratification. This meaningful statement was spoken by Srila Prabhupada himself. Give up your wealth for preaching, sit down together and make some special judgment. The Supreme Lord himself says that everything is mine. Don't protest, just unite and preach. Srila Prabhupada gave this final message himself. take great care to follow that completely in all respects. Otherwise, as your sannyas, otherwise your sannyas will be wasted and useless. O saintly ones, be careful. Afterwards, you will regret. So, what is the difficulty for all of us to come together in this way? And why do all these things even have to be said to you? Give up your stubbornness, there is no time. Come, all my brothers, on this auspicious holy occasion and unite. So, again, Prabhupada is urging his uh, god brothers. Actually, this जो ये where Prabhupada is this has written, actually, right, Prabhupada also speaks this offering on the in the ceremony. जब भी कोई व्यास पूजा होती है, so what the disciples they do is that they write an offering, and when the disciples come together, then they read that offering. And so ऐसे ही when on the Vyas Puja of his spiritual master, there was a ceremony at the Radha Damodar temple, and many Prabhupada's spiritual master's disciples came. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's disciples came, and those who were also very senior to Prabhupada actually. And Prabhupada had अभी उन्होंने recently ही संन्यास लिया था. He took sannyas in 59, and in 61 this was happening. So this is on a ceremony where Prabhupada is reciting these offerings to everybody in a ceremony, and in that way he is also giving the message of his spiritual master to everybody, that to come together and preach. And जैसे कि यहाँ पे लिखा है, if there is only one supreme lord, then a true sadhu, if his faith increases, gives up the desire for profit, distinction and adoration in the material world. So like that. So we have, so what at that time was happening was जैसे कल प्रभु जी भी बता रहे थे that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had ordered his disciples to collectively work and preach to this whole world this Bhagavad Dharam, or this these teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And he collectively he meant that कि एक GBC बनाए वो सब, they make a GBC and then they do that collectively, but that did not happen actually. And at that time there was no preaching going on. Everybody was had their own mutt, and there were disputes as well. And it was a very difficult period at that time for Krishna conscious preaching. And um, and this and the essence of that we can also see from what Prabhupada has written here actually. So like that. And so he says that what is the difficulty for all of us to come together in this way, and why do all these things even have to be said to you? So we can see that how uh, like I remember that Prabhupada used to say that our love for Prabhupada will be shown the way we cooperate with each other, or the way we come together and follow his instructions, and we cooperate among each other. And so that is what Srila Prabhupada's mood, and that is what he is carrying from his spiritual master. That so, and the same he is giving like to his god brothers as well. And so that what is the difficulty for all of them to come together and again re-establish this preaching movement, because at that time nothing was happening, and it was very and we can also see, like in the last time Prabhupada says that give up your stubbornness, there is no time. So Prabhupada always he always carried that mood of urgency within himself, that there is always so urgent need for this message to be preached to the whole world. There is no time at all. If we think that we have time, then we are very much mistaken, because we don't know what's going to happen at the next movement. And whenever there is a chance for us to do something, do some seva, or anything, or any chance to take in Krishna consciousness, we should do it at that time, because there is definitely no time. and that I can say from my own personal experience that because of few mistakes that I have committed, that we should definitely not postpone anything in Krishna consciousness. If we think that yes, we have some time, oh मैं अभी मैं ये कर लेता हूँ, and then I will after some time I will do इसके लिए तो मेरे पास अभी time है, then it is a very big mistake that we might make, and then we regret afterwards. And I can personally give you assurance on this that it has happened to me, that that we should not postpone it at any time. So now we read the sixth Vishishta, and I will share my screen, and Gaurav Prabhu has raised his hand, so he will read. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. 49.6 Vasista. When will that day come when there will be a temple established in every house in every corner of the world? When the big court judge will be a Gaudiya Vaishnava with tilaka beautifully decorating his forehead. A Vaishnava winning votes will be elected president of the land and preaching will spread everywhere. The demons simply plunder the Lord's wealth, the hapless populace cry, "Hi, hi," in distress. The demons want so many plans just to cheat the people. They sell wheat flour at 32 rupees at month. Will opening a factory will a hungry man belly being opposed by starvation, they will eat grass and mango pits. Hare Krishna. Continue, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, अभी आगे भी है.
Wearing a 2 paisa string, a man is called a Brahmana. Wearing a saffron cloth, he has become a sannyasi. The householders beg from the sannyasi, and why not? The sannyasis have tens of millions of rupees in the bank. As the days pass, the influence of Kali Yuga increases and the poor are crying in distress. 10,000 cows are killed daily and the nation's expert leaders are all eating untouchable foodstuffs. People of muddy intelligence increase day by day. A man and his wife separate on a mere word. Everyone has become a witch by the influence of this age. Everyone is unhappy due to absence of the mercy of the Vaishnavas.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So again, Prabhupada mentioning about all the symptoms of Kali Yuga, and how grave the situation is, kitni serious situation hai, and and how the whole thing can be solved by the mercy of the Vaishnavas. The mercy of the Lord is directly flowing through his devotees, and or the Vaishnavas, and so like that. And we can also see that how Prabhupada carried the big vision. He was a big visionary actually, and he never thought small. He always thought big. That how big one can think. And similarly, the same mood we can see in his disciples as well, in Bhakti Saraswami Swami Guru Maharaj and other disciples, that they also are so well trained up to think big. And जैसे कि यहाँ पे प्रभुपाद mention करते हैं that when will that day will come when there will be a temple established in every house in every corner of the world. That is what actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction as well, that in every town and village his name will be chanted, and that is what Prabhupada is carrying within his heart. And then he says that when the big court judge will be a Gaudiya Vaishnav Tilak with a will be a Gaudiya Vaishnava with tilak beautifully decorated his forehead. So he is mentioning here about his desire about of having Vaishnavas on senior positions of the administration of the country. Then when the administration of the country is taken up by the leaders, वो leaders जो understand, those who understand that about this Bhagavad Dharam, or who understand about this philosophy, and then the pace of the preaching will be very fast, because जैसे कि भगवान बताते हैं भगवत गीता में भी कि जो यज्ञ आचरति श्रेष्ठ, कि जब भी कोई जो ग्रेट लीडर्स होते हैं जो वो करते हैं तो जो masses होती हैं they follow them. So like that Prabhupada is desiring, and he also mentioned about that when will be the time when there will be a Vaishnav president, and who will win by the votes actually. And so we can also see again another desire of Prabhupada, that so that how visionary he is. And but because our current situation is like that, the leaders, they are deprived of this philosophy as well as this science, and because there is no direction for the common public or the common people, with this it is a very grave situation, it is a very poor situation actually to be in, and that is what actually is the symptom of Kali Yuga as well, and it is only going to increase. And so like that. So now we read the next. Neha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes,
Am I
Mataji.
audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Prabhu, just let me know if the voice breaks for an internet problem.
I can
So
hear
I'll stop
loud
in
and
between.
clear.
Okay, ठीक. Seventh Vashish, 61. The Vaishnavas are famous as Par Dukh Dukhi. This fame will increase as the preaching increases. 62. If eternally pure devotional service to Krishna is awakened in everyone, then Kali will flee, screaming of his own accord. 63. Praninam Upkarya. Do work for the benefit of all living beings. This is Mahaprabhu's teaching. This is the storehouse of happiness in this life and the next. 64. So much work has fallen into your hands, so gather together and do it. 65. Vasudev Datta said to the Lord, praying his obeisances, save all the living beings in the material world. 66. Give all their sins and sufferings to me, who am the lowest of all. In this way, all the sufferings and miseries of the fallen will end. 67. He was the best of Vaishnavas, Para Dukh Dukhi. He knows that there is not real happiness in gratifying the senses. 68. And what kind of mercy can the non-Vaishnavas give? They simply make offenses by their Daridra Narayan philosophy. 69. The mercy of Vaishnavas is scientific and authorized. Without their mercy, this world is simply insurmountable Maya. 70. If there is a kingdom of Vishnu and Vaishnavas on the surface of the earth, then the world will be happy. So, say all the great sages and rishis. Should I continue?
No, thank you, Mataji. So,
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, like Prabhupada here writes that the Vaishnavas are famous as Par Dukha Dukhi. That हम अभी 2-3 दिन पहले Kiraj Prabhu was also discussing about the same, that how that the one who only those can preach, or the preaching will also be successful only for those who really think that the others are suffering, and they care for them, and when they see others suffering because of this bodily conception and because of this um, all these material sufferings, and then the preaching will increase actually. When the Vaishnavas are like that only, that they वो दूसरों को दुख में देख के वो खुद ही दुखी में आ जाते हैं, and पर दुखा दुखी, but so like that. And it also, like Prabhupada is also mentioning the same about this हमने अभी तक पढ़ा, that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed everyone, those who are born in India, is to make their life successful, and then to preach it to everybody everywhere in the world. And so like that, Praninam Upakaraya, do work for the benefit of all living beings. This is Mahaprabhu's teachings. So, and Prabhupada also gives the example of Vasudev Dutt, that how he also prayed to Lord that he doesn't care about what he's going to do or what he's going to suffer, but he asks about and to Lord to give all the sufferings of all those who are there in the material world, and let them be freed of their suffering. And like Prabhupada writes, that give all their sins and sufferings to me, who am the lowest of all. In this way, all the suffering and miseries of the fallen will end. So like that, this is such a high mood that Prabhupada is carrying, and this is the compassion of Srila Prabhupada actually, which we can also see, which is happening. That is what he has done actually, and that he has delivered so many of the fallen souls on this planet, and like mass in mass liberation, we can say. And and this is the mood that he is carrying, that par dukha dukhi. And we were we were listening up to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj's lecture the other day, where he mentions that love for Godhead or love for Krishna is expressed as compassion to others. अगर हम भगवान से सच्चा प्यार करते हैं, so then it is expressed as how much compassionate we are towards others in this material world. And the more we are carrying love within our heart, and the more we want to distribute it to them in terms of compassion. So compassion means preaching it to them, and so that is what the essence of the whole thing is. And in the end, he writes that the mercy of Vaishnavas is scientific and authorized, and without their mercy, this world is simply insurmountable Maya. And we can also very well see how that is true, because Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that this material nature is so very difficult to surpass. कितना मुश्किल है उसको उसके ऊपर फतेह उसको जीतना और उसके ऊपर जीतना। और देवी ही यशा गुणमयी मम माया दुरुत्तया। उसके बाद कृष्ण सेज मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते माया मेताम तरन्ति ते, that it is very difficult to win over this material nature, but those who surrender unto me, or then they can then surpass this toughest material nature, and or this insurmountable Maya. And like surrendering it to Lord means that surrendering to the pure devotees of the Lord, and following what the pure devotees of the Lord are giving as instructions. And so like that. So now we read the last Vishishta. I will share the screen. Who is the next? Megha Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
8th Vashisht 71. Why is everyone crying for Ram Rajya? The only way it can be had is if there is a Vishnu-centered kingdom. 72. Lord Krishna enthroned King Yudhishthir, then the whole world was rich and fortunate due to the qualities of a Vaishnava. 73. The streams, rivers, trees, and fields and mountains are full of fruits and flowers. The milk laden cows were floating in abundant milk. 74. The birds, beasts, and lower creatures were all non-envious. Material life in the Vaishnava kingdom was regulated and perfect. 75. All immersed in bliss, singing the glories of Hari, the herds of the Vaishnavas dance in ecstasy to see this. 76. The entire world is filled with the use of material objects without a trace of devotional devotion to the Lord. 77. Still they are searching after peace, preach Krishna consciousness, fulfill their desires. 78. Today, my brothers, get to this task, save the betrayed souls by your preaching. 79. Srila Prabhupada, please be merciful today. This time have compassion. You are not a conditioned soul of this material world. 80. Whatever independence we have, let it be cast to the waters. The lovely Abhay offers this presentation today. A Vyas Puja offering of prayers glorifying the special characteristics of Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur presented on the commemoration of his appearance by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada at the Radha Damodar Temple, Vrindavan, India in 1961. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much, Mataji. So, such a lovely prayer. And here, like Prabhupada जैसे कि लिख रहे हैं that everybody is crying for Ram Rajya. And this we also see as a propaganda in India, that how everybody knows that they want Ram Rajya, but like Prabhupada used to say that they want Ram Rajya, but they don't want Ram. So, but but here, like as also Prabhupada mentions that there cannot be any Ram Rajya without Ram. That बिना भगवान को center में लिए there cannot be any peace and prosperity, and there cannot be any advancement, and like that. So this is what Prabhupada is mentioning, and he also gives the example of King Yudhishthir, that how at the time of King Yudhishthir everything was so surplus, and there was so much peace and prosperity in general public, in general masses, and 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 naturally, because the king was Krishna conscious and a pure devotee, and he knew the importance of that, and so naturally he uh, gave the same thing to his praja, and because that was his ultimate duty, because Prabhupada mentions that the ultimate duty of any government is to see that the the praja is happy, and we can very much see that at this time, that how much that is true or not, and also how much happiness ratio is there, or even if there is so called, so it is not um, permanent, or not the permanent solution. And so that is why also, like when Lord Krishna was there, he established King Yudhishthir on the throne of the whole world, because the king was righteous, and like as जैसे कि भगवान बताते हैं that धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवानि युगे युगे, कि धर्म की स्थापना करने के लिए ही comes, एंड सो धर्म की स्थापना कैसे हुई, कि उन्होंने किंग युधिष्ठिर जी को किंग बनाया, एंड देन द होल अर्थ, the whole world was happy and peaceful under him. And and see, and Prabhupada writes there that the entire world is filled with the use of material objects without a trace of devotion to the Lord. Still, they are searching after peace. So of course, everybody deep down within themselves, they are looking for peace, and and but there cannot be peace without Krishna. There cannot be peace without Bhoktaram, the single Bhoktaram. And Krishna mentions that uh, uh, he is the single most Bhoktaram of every sacrifice and everything that is done. Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. And Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. Jo isko jaan le, they can get peace. And but because they don't know, that is why Prabhupada is mentioning is to preach. So preach Krishna consciousness. Still they are searching after peace. Dot preach Krishna consciousness, fulfill their desires. So how their desires of attaining peace can be fulfilled, that if we preach it to them, and so that is the whole essence that Prabhupada is giving it to at that time, and to his god brothers, and of course to everybody, to those who are his followers, and those who are also not. And he is praying to his spiritual master that to please be merciful on all of them. And so this was the Vyas Puja offering. And now the same thing actually ये इसका मेंशन शिला प्रभुपाद लीलामृत में भी आता है. It's a very short prasang, बहुत ही छोटा प्रसंग है. It will take 5-10 minutes for us to read. So we will read that from Lilamrit now, and about about this day when Prabhupada is जब ये जो विशिष्टक है, and when he is reciting it as a poem to his god brothers. So now we will read that, and it's a very beautiful prasang, and we will get deeper insights on what was happening at that time. So now we'll read, and again I would request devotees to raise their hand if they want to read more. Yes, so Meenakshi Mataji and Piti Mataji are there, so we will read. So Mataji, you have to read from here. So this is Lilamrit volume 1, and I believe it is 10th chapter. Let me confirm. Yes, so it is 10th chapter, the momentous hour of need. And Prabhupada is right now in Vrindavan, and now we read from here. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. In February of 1961, on a Vyas Puja day, the anniversary of appearance of a Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivedanta Swami was again in Vrindavan. In honor of their spiritual masters, some of the Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's disciples had gathered and offered flowers before his picture and held a congregational chanting in the temple. But the Bhaktivedanta Swami thought that they should be doing much more than that. They should be planning and executing the worldwide preaching mission that the Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati has desired. Instead, they were gathering of independent individuals, each with his own small idea, each maintaining a small center or living at a center, but with no world program, no even a program for India. Most of them have no plan or a vision beyond their own bodily maintenance. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has asked for a governing body to conduct his movement, but there was no governing body, and practically there was no movement. Some who has fought bitterly were again on a speaking terms and feared that any sudden organizational attempt now might simply stir up old animosities. At least they could gather together and make an offering to their spiritual master.
Yes.
Amongst his
sorry Mataji. So like here Prabhupada mentions or Prabhupada thought that so there is a gathering of his spiritual master disciples, or Prabhupada's god brothers, and that see here what is written, that here but Bhaktivedanta Swami thought that they should be doing much more than that, because they were only coming together and they were doing congregational chanting and offering flowers to his picture, जो कि हमने अभी जो ये विशिष्टिका था उसमें जो पिछले वाले प्रसंग थे उसमें हमने पढ़ा भी था that how better than like offering flowers or doing and all this offering a lamb is better to follow his instructions, and his instruction was to preach to the whole world this mission. And then so Prabhupada thought that they should be doing much more than that. They should be planning and executing the worldwide preaching mission that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had desired. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had asked for a governing body to conduct his movement, but there was no governing body, and practically there was no movement. So there was nothing happening at that time. It was only um, uh, in Prabhupada's heart and also in Prabhupada's mind and actions that things were happening, and but practically there was no movement at that time. And so some who had fought bitterly were again on speaking terms and feared that any such organization attempts now might simply stir up old animosities. So there were like I mentioned pehle bhi, there were few disputes among them, and they did not get along much, and everybody was like is mentioned as a gathering of independent individuals. And so जैसे कि हमने भी पढ़ा that how Prabhupada wanted everybody of them to get together and collectively uh, follow the mood and mission of their spiritual master, and at least they could gather together and make an offering to their spiritual master. So that is what Prabhupada was doing. Yes, Mataji, can you go ahead?
Krishna Prabhu. I have to read or Preeti Mataji has.
Okay. Yes, Preeti Mataji can read. Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
You can read from here.
Swami support.
No, amongst his god brothers. This,
Which line?
Mataji. Okay, I'm sorry. In the second column, Mataji, the right second column, the last
Yeah.
paragraph, amongst his god brothers.
मेरे में नहीं आ रही है।
This one, Mataji, the second column to the right page.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Amongst his god brothers, Bhaktivedanta Swami was a junior sannyasi, although a recognized writer and editor. He had no temple or followers, yet he knew he was trying to know Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. He was himself helpless and alone against the vast forces of Maya. His god brother were not an were not,
But not an
were not
army.
were not an army united against Maya's forces, but were more like apathetic monks growing old, holding on a religious principles and rituals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go on, Mataji.
Yeah. I have to.
प्रभु यू हैव टू स्क्रॉल कहाँ से पढ़ना है
माताजी मैंने नेक्स्ट पेज कर दिया. नेक्स्ट पेज के लेफ्ट कॉलम में से सबसे स्टार्टिंग वाली
ओके
लाइन.
ओके हाँ ये रहा नेक्स्ट पेज यहाँ पे क्लिक करना
Devoid of life. How could they gather to worship
devoid
their
of
spiritual master
devoid of life.
without distress?
How could they gather to worship their spiritual master without distressfully admitting their failure and in the spirit of better late than never trying to
Since the custom of Vyasa
Mataji, I think both of you are reading, so maybe one of you should read. प्रीति माताजी is reading, but माताजी आपकी वॉइस नहीं आ रही है.
Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote of more like an explosion than a eulogy. And
Hare Krishna.
Since the custom of Vyasa Puja day was for each disciple to write an assembly of God brothers. आपने अपना रखा मेरा इससे
हरे कृष्णा. नेहा माताजी. Okay.
Hello,
Yes, Mataji.
hello.
Hare Krishna.
Now it is audible. Hare Krishna.
Yes, 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 Mataji. Now you're audible. Can you start again from devoid of life?
Okay, okay. Devoid of life. How could they gather to worship their spiritual master without distressfully admitting their failures and in the spirit of better late than never, trying to rectify it? Since the custom on Vyas Puja day was for each disciple,
To write an
shall
offering.
we change the script?
Okay, I'll read.
Okay,
Devoid.
got it. Humbly, and even now, my god brothers, to return here on the order of our master, and together we engage in this puja. But simply, a festival of flowers and fruits does not constitute worship. The one who served the message of the Guru really worships him. Oh, shame, my dear brothers, aren't you embarrassed? In the manner of businessman, you increase your disciple. Our master said to preach, let the neophytes remain inside the temples and simply rings the bells. But just take a good look at the terrible situation that has arisen. Everyone has become a sense enjoyer and has given up preaching. From the seas across the earth, penetrate the universal shell. Come together and preach the Krishna consciousness. Then our master's service will be in proper order. Make your promise today. Give up all your politics and diplomacy. If the disciple of Bhakti Sadhanta,
Mataji.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mataji. So here we see that like Prabhupada mentions that how could they gather to worship their spiritual master without distressfully admitting their failures and in the spirit of better late than never trying to rectify it. So this was actually the mood where Prabhupada was carrying that he just didn't want everybody to just to get together and just celebrate the Vyas Puja. And but his real offering was that if somehow he could reignite that the mission of his spiritual master, and then came Prabhupada's turn actually to speak what he had written, and where here it is written that Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote an offering more like an explosion than a eulogy. So eulogy means a speech or a piece of writing that praises someone. So it was more like an explosion. So we can also see in a similar fashion that how grave or how seriously he has written, and how fearlessly he is mentioning all these points, and he is not there to please them or something, but he has taken very strong words um, in his writing. And as it goes that a sadhu is supposed to cut, so in a very sharpened manner he cuts everybody, and in that sense um, he is urging everybody to again come together and serve their spiritual master by what he desired was to preach this mission to the whole world. Thank you so much, Mataji. So now, Gaurav Prabhu, can you read one paragraph? यहाँ
Hare
से,
Krishna.
if the disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati.
If the disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati could join and preach together, there was every chance that they could create a spiritual revolution within uh, within the sinful world. That had been the hope of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and Bhaktivedanta Swami expressed that hope in this Vyas Puja offering.
Yes.
When
So, uh, like like the same that we read, that if they could join and preach together, there was every chance that they could create a spiritual revolution within the sinful world. And we can see it very much practical, that how the same thing has happened, because none of them actually came forward and to fulfill their Guru Maharaj's desire to preach this whole mission to the whole world. And but it was Prabhupada alone who took up this magnanimous task of going to United States of America at the age of 70, and with carrying nothing more than 40 rupees in his pocket, and but Srimad Bhagavatam with him. And in fact, he says that he was not going to United States of America. Srimad Bhagavatam was going, and he was going as a servant of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he was going to serve Srimad Bhagavatam there. So this was his mood, and 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 before he landed on United States on Boston Harbor, boarding Jaladut, and there also he wrote a very wonderful prayer. Actually, two or three of them, जो कि अभी ही आएगा, इसके आगे वही prayers आएंगी, and so that also we will read. And we can also see that because of his intense and unflinching faith on his spiritual master's vani and instructions, and he was able to carry out his instructions, and he was able to preach to the whole world. And of course, and he is a empowered personality, and he's an acharya, and so he could do that, and only he could do that. And but but he is again urging here that to his god brothers, that that had been the hope of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and Bhaktivedanta Swami expressed that hope in his Vyas Puja offering. The hope was that one day the whole world will chant the glories of the holy name, and there will be Mahasankirtan throughout the whole world, and we see that thing taking place and already. And because of Srila Prabhupada's endeavor and because of his preaching throughout the whole world, we have seen this movement grow from one temple to so many in the world, and not only in India. And in India, actually, it came later than it started in the Western world. It all started there in United States, in New York, and 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 so and it was all because of his intense and unflinching faith on his spiritual master's words, and because of his faith on holy name, and of course because of his love for Krishna. And so now we read ahead. Anita Mataji, can you read? I will share the screen. So we are almost at the end of the prasang. From here, Mataji, when will that day come when a temple will be established?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
When will that day come when a temple will be established in every house in every corner of the world? When will the High Court judge be a Gaudiya Vaishnav and Tilak beautifully decorated his forehead? When will a Vaishnav winning votes be elected president of the land and preaching be spread everywhere? As he read the poem, its trust exploding in the midst of the gathering of aging sannyasis. Some approved and some were incensed. Their meeting, however, took no new direction. They did not sit down together and plan as he had pleaded. Swami Maharaj's poem was taken as another poetic expression or as an opinion. The God brothers were inclined to let the old wounds heal with the passing of time, to go back over the whole thing again and reconstruct the mission as it had been before. when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had been present and to attempt all those ambition programs. How was it possible? They, they were getting old. Some did not want to leave the shelter of Vrindavan. They would worship Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati within the holy dham. If Bhaktivedanta Swami could do something more, let him go ahead and try.
Yes.
Continue.
Wait, Mataji. So as we read but still, uh, as we read that Prabhupada's offering, but still there was no action taken, or there was no response from his god brothers at that time. And they were simply thinking that how is it going to happen, that how is it merely possible that this be true, that and that this whole philosophy or this whole Bhagavad Dharam be preached to the whole world. And um, and but but Srila Prabhupada did not doubted on any of it, and because of this, and he was able to do it. And you sad, or I would say disappointed, and because there was no response from them. And um, and then now we read ahead the last paragraph. uh, is there anyone? Neha Mataji, can you read
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
the last
Uh,
paragraph?
last paragraph in January se?
No, Bhakti Vedanta Swami returned to
Okay,
Keshi.
okay. Bhakti Vedanta Swami returned to Kesi Ghat thoughtful. For many years, he had been unable to take a leading part in the mission because of family commitments. In 1935, in Bombay, his godbrothers had even asked him to be president of the mutt there. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had said that it was not necessary that Abhay Charan join them. He would come in his own way. Now, by the grace of his spiritual master, he was ready to fulfill the meaning of sannyas. The Krishna conscious world he had described in his poem was not a utopia, presented merely to incite his godbrothers. A dreamer's talk of the impossible. It was possible, but in any case, he had to write and print Krishna conscious books and preach abroad. It was what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted. If his godbrothers would not do it jointly, then he would do it.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So as we read that it was in 1935 actually, when Srila Prabhupada's god brothers actually had asked him to be the temple president of one of the mutt there in Bombay. Um, but his spiritual master had said that no, it was not the time, and his time will come. And that's what he said, that his time will come. Let him do what he's doing right now, because he was in a grihastha life that time. And but he was very much active into writing, into the harmonist, and and other periodicals. And so his spiritual master had said that his time will come, and when he will speak, or when he will come, the whole world will listen to him. So like that. And the same thing had happened. We can also see that now the same thing happened, that by the grace of a spiritual master, he was now ready to fulfill the rightful mission, the rightful meaning of sannyas. And as he also mentions that um, that during his journey to America, he also wrote a prayer in which he writes that may now be the time that when may he fulfill his name. What is the meaning of his name? Bhakti Vedanta. And so that's what he did actually. And in the end, there is written that the Krishna conscious world he had described in his poem was not an utopia presented merely to incite his god brothers, a dreamer's talk of the impossible. it was possible, and we could see that it was not just anything to incite upon, or but it was really possible, and all the things that we see that he has written, it was slowly coming and to life, and that's what he did, that's what he preached to the whole world, and so that's how he fulfilled his spiritual master's desire, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction that the whole world will chant the holy names, and like that. So with this, we end our today's session, and I'm not sure how did it go, but I sincerely hope and pray that all of you uh, found something out of it which may be fruitful for you, and then please forgive me if there were any mistakes, and thank you so much. And if you have any questions, then now you may ask. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for the very nice session. We never feel the absence of Viraj Prabhu. Prabhu, can we continue with the quiz questions if you comfortable?
Yes, Prabhu. After the session we will continue. Yes. So now we end our today's session here. Thank you so much. नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जगद्गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। जय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण। Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very
Hare Krishna.
much.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining.